Hello everyone, welcome to Shreyas' Guide to Medicine. For today's video, I decided to talk about something that I experienced recently, which was my first day as a doctor. So what differentiates my experience to thousands of doctors out there is the fact that due to the pandemic, we were given an early graduation and we were asked to start working 4 months early to help out the NHS. Interesting, huh? So let's get started. So my name is Shreyas Vinayak and I'm a junior doctor currently working in NHS UK. First off, I would like to thank each and every one of y'all for your likes, your support and your comments. I truly appreciate them and I hope you guys keep them coming with each video that I put out. So coming back to today's topic, there were a couple of things that I realized within the first few weeks of starting work. And one of them was just sort of feeling unprepared. Now I can imagine my parents' reaction to this statement after spending tons on my education over the last 5 years. But like any job out there, experience plays a huge part in you becoming a doctor, let alone a good doctor. I'm sure most medical students out there are keen and eager to start work as a doctor. I mean, come on, who wouldn't? Especially the ones that are in their clinical placements, spending time on the wards, gaining insight to how patients are managed, how wards are run, learning about the job descriptions of a junior doctor. It's an exciting time. And I'll be honest with you, during my time in my final year, when I was shadowing junior doctors, at one point I thought, hey, this doesn't seem to be too bad. I'm sure I'll be able to manage just fine when my time comes. Well, the transition from a medical student to a doctor is massive. I can't stress that word enough. I'm not trying to intimidate y'all or try to put y'all off from doing medicine, but that's just the honest fact. And that's one of the first things that I realized when I started work. And due to the pandemic, the normal induction period for most junior doctors, which is about 1 to 2 weeks, got shortened to about 2 days for us. Now, as much as that could have played a part, I realized how I could have better managed my time and experience during my clinical placements in medical school. For instance, during my time as a medical student on the wards, I would generally tend to hang back and wait for instructions to be given to myself from either the nurses or the doctors. For example, it would be something as simple as taking bloods, placing cannulas, or even doing an ECG. Most of the time, I would manage that just fine, but at certain times, if I couldn't manage them, I'll just hand them back over to the doctor or the nurses and say, I'm really sorry, but I couldn't get that done. And that's it. I'll move on to the next task. At that point, I didn't realize that I didn't have the responsibility on my shoulders to push myself and get myself out of my comfort zone in actually getting things done. And if there's nothing much to get done on the wards during the afternoon times, I would generally head back to the library or back home to get some reading done. Because at that time I thought it was more productive to get some reading done as opposed to spending time on the wards doing absolutely nothing. But over the last 2 months, I've realized tips and tricks of how to get the best out of your clinical placements as a medical student. So tip number 1, if you guys have the chance, try to get involved and spend as much time as possible on the wards. Try to incorporate yourself into the team as opposed to being an outsider just waiting for instructions. This can be done simply by just having a look at the jobs book, which is quite commonly used in most wards out there. You can try to attempt any outstanding jobs that needs to be done. This can be as simple as, like I said, getting bloods, or calling up radiology for a scan, or even speaking to a different specialty regarding a patient. So these were the things that I struggled with and I hadn't attempted during my time as a medical student. But of course, always inform the doctors or the nurses on the ward and I'm sure they'll be fine and eager to help you guys out. And for those of y'all who are done with medical school and are waiting for your placements, don't fret. I mean, in the end, we all learn and we all gain through experience. It's not the end of the world. For my next point, unfortunately, this is not something that you can pick up or learn during medical school. This is a feature that you have to start work and build slowly over time. And that is the confidence of a doctor. So I'm sure most medical students out there who have graduated from the UK and are waiting for their placements have already sat for their prescribing safety assessment. And those of y'all outside the UK would have had some form of examination regarding prescriptions. And we all know the basic and common drugs that are given for pain and nausea, as well as their dosages. But trust me, the first medication you prescribe is going to be a big deal. Because the first medication I prescribed was fluids. Easy, right? You would think so. Simple bag of normal saline for maintenance. However, I spent a good 15 minutes looking through the patient's history as well as their electrolytes and fluid balance. I also searched the BNF regarding the amount and duration the bag needs to run. This sort of reminds me the time when we were in school and we were first given the chance to use a calculator during a maths exam. We all knew the equation and we knew the answer, but we'd still use the calculator anyway? That's exactly how it feels. I guess some things never change. Even after all this, I still went up to my senior and asked for their second opinion. Why? I don't know. Could have just been me. But this is when I realized the massive responsibilities that we, even a junior doctor, has. It might be something as simple as a bag of fluids, but it's still a big deal. Don't get me wrong, it is good practice to always ensure that you are safe as well as are aware that there are no contraindications to the medications that you prescribe. However, it will take time to build up that confidence. Until then, there's no harm at all in asking your seniors for advice. And the third struggle that I encountered during my first few weeks of starting work was reading a doctor's handwriting. To put it more elegantly, communication. I swear, there was this one time where I spent about 30 minutes, yes, 30 minutes, trying to translate what I can only assume was that weird Microsoft font that no one ever uses. At the same time, I couldn't even read the bleep number that was written down. But jokes aside, I realized how important communication was, especially as a junior doctor. You will be given 5 tasks from 5 different people regarding 5 different patients within 5 minutes. So it's your job to either sort this out yourself or communicate this with someone else who can. There was this one scenario when there was an acutely unwell patient on the ward. So I decided to bleep the general surgical registrar to come and have a look at the patient. Within a couple of minutes, the consultant comes by and asks what's wrong. So I let him know what's going on and the patient's past medical history. Within one breath, he tells me to do 4 different things, including writing up medication as well as dosages for the patient. I just stood there with a poker face, trying to figure out how do I tell this consultant to repeat what he just said, as I didn't even get the first thing that he mentioned, let alone the medication or the dosage. Thankfully, there was a more senior doctor present as well on the ward, and he said he'll take care of it. Sigh of relief, but that's when I realized how important and crucial communication is within the team as well as in the hospital setting. How do you improve this? Well, give me a couple more weeks. I'll try to figure it out and get back to y'all. That's about it for today's video, guys. Please do like and subscribe down below. I really hope you enjoy the content that I'm putting out. And for next week, I'll be talking about how to adapt and manage our studying during lockdown. That's all for today, guys. Bye-bye now.